The reason why, as artists, we continue to be misunderstood in terms of our works is because we don't really express our lived reality in words, because we're living in a world where people need to understand certain things through words and stuff like that.
Wait, so the public, the South African public, believes who made the flag? What's it recorded as?
According to the records, Fred Brownell is the designer. The person was presiding over the submissions of the design. And Mkai did not anticipate that someone was going to steal his work and say it's his work. Nobody speaks about the side hustle of those people called the master of the High Court.
Thank you.
Their side hustle of stealing from the vulnerable.
Thank you.
In a world where Africans have lost their roots, it has become of vital importance to document our ways. In an effort to reverse the brainwashing of the past, where we were made to believe our ways are demonic, we are pressed to create dignified and respectful platforms to unpack our spiritual ways.
The views and opinions expressed in this episode are those of the guest and do not necessarily reflect the beliefs or position of this channel, its hosts, or affiliates. This podcast is a platform for open discussions and exploration of various perspectives, including controversial and unconventional ideas. We encourage viewers to think critically, do their own research, and form their own opinions. The content is for informational and entertainment purposes only and should not be taken as fact, advice, or an endorsement of any specific viewpoint. Viewers' discretion is advised.
Umoya O Light, Umoya O Bright. Welcome to another episode of MOYA Political Series. We thank you so much for all the support we're getting. Guys, you're watching the adverts. Thank you. I'm not like that other lady crying that you guys are not watching the adverts. Thank you so much. I know that's very naughty, but thank you for watching the adverts. We really appreciate you. Thank you especially to the members. The members are growing and you guys are so special because there isn't even any member like content yet, but you're just doing it because you're helping us keep the lights on. So from the bottom of our hearts, we truly thank you. The rest of you, thank you for liking, sharing and subscribing. We really appreciate the MOYA family. So business is business, guys. You know MOYA Political Series always brings you the guests that are just going to make you go, wow, oh my gosh. So, okay, and let me just quickly, I must get his name right. I've got BANDILE MAGIBILI. He's been reaching out to me for a while now. And I must tell you that he is from the Eastern Cape. He got onto the bus, drove for 9 hours just to be with us. To give us these scoops. This is our trend that I'm trying to, but we'll see that. But Bandile, thank you so much for agreeing to come and sit with us, and thank you for reaching out.
Thank you so much. It's been a long time coming.
Yes.
Yeah, I know 4 times. It's done. Yeah, but it's here. Everything, the timing, I guess the perfect timing is now.
So, you know, we deal with politics, and I always say to the youth who watch this channel that we give them the education that they're not going to get at Kolenza Belungu. So, I mean, when you reached out to me, the issue was the flag. You know, there's a lot of controversy around the flag, but at the same time, it's shoved under the carpet. So we don't talk about it, but we always hear my hem. So do you want to unpack to us, why did you reach out to us about the flag? What about it?
Basically, in 1993, 1994, there was a public call from the government of a transition from apartheid to democracy that artists across South Africa must make submissions of designs of what they propose to unite the different political parties that were rivals at the time so that they can be politics to be united under one symbol. And the brief was that in terms of reference is that the color must be simple. I mean, the flag must be simple, and even a child can draw it according to the records that we receive from the department. And also that it must have the 3 primary colors, which is red, blue, and yellow. And then the person who presided over that call was a man called Frederick Bronwell, who died in 2019. And Frederick Bronwell was a State Herald, which is, the State Herald is a project under the National Archives and Record Service of South Africa, who was part of the apartheid regime. So ultimately, through my works and my involvement in the ground in terms of discovering and uncovering different talents, you know, from music, visual artists, poetry, fashion designing, etc., I got to meet a gentleman called Mr. Hastings Mqhayi Tembani, who's from Fort Beaufort, one of the greatest artists to ever live in the country, a man who contributed a lot to the public discourse of the country, as he is the designer of the SATU logo, which was designed in 1991 for the South African educators, because he was a political activist at the time, and he was the one, he was the go-to guy, you know, when he was still a student at Forte. And he also designed a lot of other symbols and also contributed to coordinating the Eastern Cape Coat of Arms. So upon meeting him and us exchanging, you know, our excitement, you know, when it comes to art, in terms of, okay, at the time I was a student at Waterloo University, where I was designing calendars for the SRC, posters for the SRC of the university. My last university was Forte, so I always want to go to Forte. So Walter Sisulu. So we'll always exchange and share those moments. But how I met him at an event I hosted at Cambridge Town Hall back in 2005, an event that was actually sabotaged by the ANC government. I booked the East London City Hall 3 months in advance, and then 3 days before the event, the venue was cancelled. Guess for what? For a council meeting. And the reason why I decided to create that platform was that I was of the view that government thinks for us and not with us. So if they can come and think with us, it's when we create the platforms according to how we'd like to see them. So that cry where they changed the venue to Cambridge Town Hall, it was published on the front page of the Daily Dispatch newspaper. And then from there, Mr. Mqhayi saw that, and because he is an official in the Department of Sport, Arts and Culture, he visited the event. That's how I met him, okay. You know, and being an official in that department, I'd always visit to the office. Then that's how and when I got to know him. And then that's how we got to exchange and talk about our works. And because he's a person who does not like to be known, which has been his history and way of doing things, you know, from way back, because as a political activist, he was not supposed to be known that he's the one who creates banners for protest marches, you know, because of those rife times of apartheid. But then the more I got to know about his work, I took time to check him on the internet if I could find him. But I could only find guys like your Frederick Bronwell, all the white guys, but there's nothing that's recorded when it comes to black artists. So that became a concern to me. And I also checked within his department, you know, because it's a department that says that they nurture and preserve the artistic genius of artists, only to find out there's nothing about him. But over time, as time went by and my involvement in discovering, grooming and mentoring artists, I got to a point where I realized that there's something very wrong here. Because as black people in particular, we don't document and record our history. As a result, when we try to solve problems, we don't know where to start. So I felt that it was important for me to document his works, and it took me a period of 5 years to convince him, because he was not comfortable to talk about the works, because his reason was that he did not want to collide with his own comrades, which is what is happening in the country, where people are politicizing the future of the country without looking into the things that they're supposed to do and fix, you know. So that's how it happened. And I told him that, you know what, this is not about your comrades. This is about the future. And you are one of the artists who have been robbed of his work and also to be documented in history. And I strongly hate this concept of artists who are being celebrated when they are dead and gone. When you are alive, when we can make reference to ask about certain things from you, then we can't do that. When you die, people will start creating their own narratives, you know, in terms of how Mkai contributed to the public discourse and etc., etc. It took me 5 years to convince him, because that man is brilliant and very intelligent. So upon a visit to his house, I saw a lot of paintings that he created during apartheid, where he has all those things that were happening under apartheid and on how he was expressing his pain. So he would ask me many questions, and I would have to go and think maybe for 6 months or a year to come back to him, because he would ask me pertinent questions like, you know what, artists, we call each other artists. When I painted these paintings, I was under serious trauma and pain. So when you say I must speak about what I went through that time, it's like saying to me that I must relive the pain of the time when I created them. So can you please be considerate, you know, of my reality, you know. Then I'll go and come back again, and it was genuine. And then he would say, the reason I painted these paintings is because I do not have words for painting. I mean, for the paintings. That's why I painted. That's how I expressed my feeling. So I'm saying the reason why, as artists, we continue to be misunderstood in terms of our works is because we don't really express our lived reality in words, because we're living in a world where people need to understand certain things through words and stuff like that. And then he kept on coming with very valid questions, reasons why he can't speak, and for me to document his works and stuff like that. So ultimately, on the 5th year, I told him that you are selfish. And if you talk about problems, you must always know that you are part of the bigger problem in this whole equation of what is happening in the country. Because now I want to document history so that people can know that you contributed. So the focus was more on the works that he has created during the apartheid. And he contributed a lot to the African National Congress, but he's nowhere close to the benefits of his contribution as a visual or fine art artist, you understand? Then it kind of pained me, you know, and ultimately agreed that I can compose the book. So I did a book artwork where I interpret his paintings and how he created them, including the flag. And I told them about the flag, and I was like, it didn't take me serious when I said a white man called Frederick Brownell is the one credited to be the designer of the flag. But I didn't have the facts at the time, only to discover that Frederick Brownell was the chairperson of the selection board, who was responsible for receiving flag design submissions from the public. And they received over 7,000 submissions of flag designs from the country. And Mr. Mkai could recognize that the flag was one of his works. And he was not even excited about the fact that he's the one who designed the SATU logo. He was just telling me how these people would come, like even the Theresa coat of arms, he designed it. Now, when you talk about these symbols that he has created, one, the SATU logo is nowhere recorded. And if we do not have a copy of a letter that came from the people who were heading SATU at the time confirming that he's the one who designed it, and he got a mere 200 rands check for designing the SATU thingy. So in my quest to try and fight and lobby artists like yourself that we rectify whatever it is that we wish to rectify when it comes to intellectual property theft, it will never see the light of day for as long as we don't rally behind the plight of artists like Mkai. Whether you hate Mkai or you hate Bandile, you must separate your personal feelings from what we can achieve from fighting the bigger cause of this particular artist who is not recorded in history, who is alive, where people can go and request and to understand certain information about him, you know. So having received those monies and he did not want to be known, it is because he got used to the culture of not being known because of that trauma of apartheid, because he was the one. So then from there, after creating all these things, and I started conducting...
So wait, so the public, the South African public believes who made the flag? What's it recorded as?
According to the records, Fred Bronwell is the designer. The person was presiding over the submissions of the design. And Mkai did not anticipate that someone was going to steal his work and say it's his work. And now I'm coming to...
Was this Frederick guy even an artist? Not even.
I'm not sure if he's an artist or not, because when I visited the Herald in 2019, there was a guy there called, I think, Russell van Rossum. He did indicate to me that Frederick was not a painter. The only thing he was doing was sketching. And then to paint and the colors, he was assisted by a certain guy, but I just forgot the name that he mentioned there when I went to request for the information and for the records. Because when he died, the plight was never about the flag, but it's about the work that Mr. Mkai created. So in 2019, Frederick Brunel died. And upon his death, I think there was a very intense briefing, that went around to the comrade content producers and comrade journalists and comrade presenters, including the government, Department of Sport, Arts and Culture, where they were saying that if we were invited to an interview, the question was one: why did you wait for Fred to die before you come with this information? Because I was conducting lectures, different universities in South Africa and in Europe, about the plight of black artists through the book I created, To Be Black. So because people were seeing the plight and the lectures I was conducting, it is the people on social media who said when Natim Tetwa was saying he was a great patriot and what, then people started saying, no, we know the designer is Mr. Hastings Mkai.
Yes.
Then they issued a press release at the time when Asanda Makaka was the spokesperson for Minister Natim Tetwa. Yes. Then they said Mkai must not solely a great patriot. He is not the designer. He does not even look like an artist, because Mr. Mkai wears suits. So
wow.
So from there, it was 2019. So after they realized they were going to TV and we went on TV, I told them that I'm not responsible for your ignorance, because this dead man did not defend himself when he was still alive. I started talking about the issue of the flags dating back to 2011. There's an article that was published by Paul Swaplati, who was a then journalist for the Daily Dispatch, in 2011. There were lectures that I conducted at Rhodes University in 2013. And there was an article that was published, which after they started talking about these things, communication removed the article. And I had to challenge the communication about that. At the time when we need this article the most, you remove it. Why? And then they had to bring back the article. So that's how this whole thing started in terms of the flag and as far as the government is concerned. And then they said, no, we must write our letter and our grievance. The experts are going to come and investigate. So apparently, Mr. Themba Mabaso, who is the current State Herald, who took over after Bronwell actually left that place, then they went on TV, on radio, asking the same question: why wait for him to die? It's like they rehearsed that script, only to find out this thing has been in the public domain. The person did not defend it. In 2014, we were on Radio 2000 in the morning show, me and Mr. Mkai. It was on a Wednesday. I went for my appointment for a visa for the UK at the time. And then on the Sunday, there was Frederick Bronwell on the Play Your Part TV show, explaining how he designed the flag. But you don't find that part on they wanted to counter the interview we had.
Yes.
And on that soundbite, he does say that he was the convener. And he was the one responsible. And now this whole process of the flag was poorly publicized. And it shows that it was deliberate of them to do so, because they wanted Bronwell. And now in terms of, after all of that, what we did, we filed an application, a Promotion of Access to Information Act application, requesting certain information, because we were asking one question, we are like programmed people. So the minute you speak about the flag, everyone asking, is there proof, is there proof? So meaning in the absence of proof, it means what is recorded in history is correct. Do you understand? So we had to be creative, because we are living in a country where people are just going with what is trending. So because Mr. Mqhayi did not have original designs, copies of the designs, because he did not anticipate that someone is going to steal his works. And then we filed through Mr. Mqhayi's attorneys a prior request, and then they did not release the information. Then we filed an application to compel the department to release the information we wanted. So in the answering affidavit, that's where we got all the information. Now the information is in our position and not in Teto. So what we did, I wrote to Parliament, to the Portfolio Committee on Sport, Arts and Culture, requesting this information. And it's so unfortunate that in Parliament, in most instances, you'll find that the person who is the secretary and the chairperson is somebody from the ANC and the chairperson from the ANC. So when you write complaining about a particular organization, they are going to withhold that information so that it does not reach the opposition. And then they just instruct the same department to investigate itself, which is the case with the department. They investigated themselves, and my follow-ups, there's a lady there called Ajabulile, I think Mtia, who is the secretary. She is a gatekeeper of development, and I wish at some point in this life, history can judge her harshly, including the current chairperson, which is Mr. McGlua. I summoned myself to Parliament recently because it seems that they don't read whatever we send there. So what I do, because I get to source contact information of the opposition on all these portfolio committees in Parliament, then I check who represents the EFF in Parliament, and then I send the information in the background. For instance, I was assisted by Mr. Ringo Madlingos when he was representing the EFF, so I will send information to him when he was in Parliament and would update me on what is happening. So when they contain the information, because they are protecting their comrades and their white friends, those who are benefiting from this fraud that happened around the designership of the flag. So getting that information, so they sent the information to the Department of Arts and Culture. They investigated themselves, the white people at the State Herald. After investigating themselves, they came with 3 designs of Mr. Mqhayi. From those 3 designs of Mr. Mqhayi, according to the terms of reference, the colors were supposed to be, the preferred colors was the primary colors, right? But when it comes to the colors that Mr. Mqhayi designed, it's 6 colors. I'll show you the design that came back there. And they're consistent with the 3 colors. The one that is flying, they were not going to get them from the archives because it's already flying. Because Brownell cut the part that is close to the flagpole because there was too much black. And then he had to cut it. And then they said Brownell created this flag from a sketch he created in Zurich after the call was done, not part of that call. So that is basically what happened around the flag. And now they are ducking and diving. I think whoever is behind this, the beneficiaries of the fraud. And in that, in 2015, there was a thesis from the University of Pretoria. I think white people, just like black people, you saw the trending news that these leaders in the Eastern Cape, they got their degrees from Forte. I think for white people, University of Pretoria is leading. Because if you can look at the thesis of Brownell, you'll see that there's a lot of that's wrong in terms of academic integrity. Yes, I'm not an academic, but in terms of his thesis, you reference yourself, you are the one who presided that, and you are the one who gave context. And in terms of the papers, what they tell us is that this was not a competition, artists were not going to make money out of this, but Brownell is making money through the thesis. And nobody is questioning Brownell's thesis. It demonstrated how powerful Brownell was for him to preside over and still be the one who's credited to have designed the flag. So if we talk about intellectual property theft in the arts, in the broader scope of the arts, and you, Ms. Mazwai, you are not part of those voices for us to rectify that one, then I don't think we'll ever find solutions for any other issue that actually affects artists on the ground.
So how did it go when you speak that you went to the judiciary and stuff? How did that go and how does it play out?
Okay, how it went to the level, the reason why we took that route is because we filed an application to compel them. The reason we filed applications for, we wanted to have the information. The idea was not to actually take a legal route in terms of that. Because remember, the court is the last resort. The first step is for us to sit down and try to find a solution regarding this. But the department, headed by Mackenzie, is forcing us to go to court, including the former minister, Mr. Nadim Ted. They are forcing us to go to court. Do you know why? Do you know why? Because the judges are on their payroll. And they know how to stage cases. There are multiple cases. I'm not a lawyer, but I operate within the sphere of law because we are living in the information age. There are multiple cases that I'm dealing with even currently where cases are staged because I monitor these lawyers and their conduct against those people that I'm assisting, such as Mr. Mkai. And now the other man that Mackenzie just said that, no, we must go to, even if we go to court, we're not going to win. When they say, I am not running away from the subject, I'll forget even what I said, what I didn't say, but I'll wait for you to ask me questions regarding what I actually missed out in terms of this. But it becomes important for me to say there is a subject that we overlook. Nobody speaks about the side hustle of those people called the master of the High Court.
Thank you.
Their side hustle of stealing from the vulnerable.
Thank you.
Now, I've watched some of your episodes. I've watched many episodes here where people speak about corruption and what. One thing I can tell you, those people that we call to be corrupt are actually not corrupt. Do you know what's corrupt? It is the system. Those people who are in the forefront are actually the faces of corruption. The beneficiaries of the corruption are the ones that we don't see, such as these people who report to themselves called the masters. You go to Mtata, there's a master there called Simon Jozana there. You go to Polokwane, you find your people called, what's this guy? I think, what is his name? Walter Malautsi and the like. I think he's an assistant master if I'm not mistaken. You go to the chief master's office, you get an assistant master there called Kalavine Pillay, who's an assistant chief master. I'm naming these people because we always attack institutions when these institutions are actually corrupted by individuals within these institutions.
Sure.
The subject of deceased estates, we don't speak much about it. And vulnerable families are struggling. These people create fake wives. They create fake children. That's why in collaboration with these financial institutions. That's why when you apply for, for insurance, they never inform you that they are going to be splitting money according to their discretion. They will tell you about Section 37C of the Administration of Pensions Act, that the Board of Trustees are the ones who decide how they are going to allocate the funds to the heirs of the deceased. So that's how they create beneficiaries. And those who do those things are the political deployees who are the bigger problem to our cause. You go to the judiciary, they have a comrade there of the ANC. You go to these places where these insurance companies. You go to banks, they have their people there to facilitate the process. And they don't care. And those people, you can report them. I recently reported to the chief master, to a lady called Tebu Otladi there. I think Tebuho, including the assistant chief master, to say that there's a registered estate there, which is case number 1587 of 2025. And we ran away from applying at Sterkspruit Magistrate Court because I've been in the background with many cases where the assets of the deceased get to be diverted because these families are vulnerable and they know. When you go to Sterkspruit Magistrate Court, they're going to send you to Mthatha to say the file is there. When you get to Mthatha, and Mthatha, they're going to say the file is back in Sterkspruit. They create fake marriage certificates. There's a lady whose estate they almost of her husband because they created a wife for the dead husband. And when you report to Mr. Simon Jozana there, they're going to, even these ones at the Chief Master's office, they are going to quote for you, they're going to say, according to Section 95 of the Deceased Estates Act 66 of 1965 as amended, an aggrieved member must approach the High Court. When you get to the High Court, they send you back to the Master's office. You'll do that game for the rest of your life. And when you complain about these masters, they are just going to write an email to say, Simon Jozana, what is happening around this matter? He's just going to respond back to them, and that's the end of it. So that's the life people are living. People are dying, people are bleeding because of these people who are supposed to protect the interests of the people. Now, in the estate that I'm referring to, what happened is because we ran away, there's an online portal where you're able to apply. So I assisted this family to make the application. And then where there is a requirement for you to file documents of a lawyer or legal aid if you don't have lawyers, it can go through and be registered. So in this particular case that I've just mentioned here, when we're doing it with the family, because the son to the deceased, those kids are dependent on him financially. And then the guardians are elderly people, you understand? And the mother nominated him, you know, to inherit just about everything because he's the one who's going to take care. But it's just that because of his work commitments, he can't be there full time. There needs to be people who are going to take care of the children. But I guarantee you now, what it did when the estate was not registered online, we decided to take the documents of the social workers to do the appointment for the elderly son to be the executor of the 18.3. It's not even an executorship. It's not even above, how do I call it? It's not even above 250,000 where we need lawyers to run it. Understandably, yes, there are minors there, but it's an 18.3. You know what happened? I think it's Lele Boys, which is an assistant master to Simon Jozana there at the master in Mthatha, sent us documents that we must go to legal aid. So that legal aid are the ones who are going to administer that because of the interest of the children. Now, when they administer that for the interest of the children, who are going to receive those funds? Is it not the guardians who nominated the elderly brother to administer that? Why are they the ones who are going to have an interest in this? We reported that. Did the chief master solve that? No. So that is the reality that South Africans are facing.
Are you saying that our judiciary is corrupted and doesn't work?
It does not work because, I mean, the entire model of governance does not work. And the reason why I'm saying it does not work is like when you complain, some people, educated or not, they may not, they may not know the channels to follow. So for me, who knows and understands the channels to follow in terms of when you have a problem, where you go to, you know,
yes.
You go to Parliament, which is the policymakers, né? Or the lawmakers. You complain about Simon Jozana as master in Mthatha. You know what they do? They're going to write a letter to whoever manages him to resolve that. And remember, those people are friends. Now, if the Eastern Cape was not able to solve that problem, how are they going to solve the problem? So the model on its own, it does not work. Because there are multiple instances where I complain about a particular school on the programs I do. And then I lodge the complaint with the province. Then Parliament is going to downscale this to the National Department of Basic Education. The National Office sends back to the same province that it did not even respond. And then those people are just going to perform a formality, call me for a meeting, and then put me in the meeting and tell me, okay, this is a director for this, a director for this. They're busy profiling themselves. They're not solving the problem in hand. So that the model on its own, the governance on its own, it does not work, not only in terms of the judiciary. Because those people who are there are political deployees who were deployed because they were good in talking. And some of them who have memorized the struggles of people on the ground, they have never been part of those struggles. Some of them, they've been part of the struggle, but they get into a system that is corrupt. And for instance, now our mothers and brothers, fathers and sisters are actually ill on those spaces. Abasaguleli zipilisi, abantu baguleli uthetha. But now, because there's two things here. There's a code of conduct that goes parallel with confidentiality clauses and non-disclosure agreements. So with those two going parallel, we'll never find the solutions. Yeah. Because now, if I'm working for you and I sign a non-disclosure and go for this thing of you must authority. If, let's say, let's talk about, I don't know, I'm going to call it a principle. If the police, they say comply and complain later. They say go and arrest Bandile. You know that this is an unlawful arrest, but because your senior says that, you must go and arrest him. Now that person who sent you to come and arrest Bandile, you understand, is instruction verbal. There's no evidence in that. And then in court, these are the police who were instructed to do something wrong who are going to account. It's like those faceless beneficiaries of these corruptions, such as these masters who have made the deceased estate their side hustle, despite them having been paid huge amounts of money. So that is the reality that South Africans are facing.
And there's no one to report the judiciary to?
They report to themselves. And it's unfortunate that I think I've exhausted all available portfolio committees in Parliament. But in the background, because I'm assisting different people in terms of composing content, it's not me, Bandile, to all of them. But what I've realized, there are very useless portfolio committees there that do not respond. And I've even realized that those that do not respond, you see, the portfolio committee on labor is dominated by ANC people. ANC people don't read. Majority of ANC people are just mediocre people. And having to deal with mediocre who do not read, they don't even respond. The portfolio committee on justice and development, they also do not respond. The portfolio committee on health, and then the most useless portfolio committee you can find is the portfolio committee on COGTA. You see those guys there. So now with that model of trying to address issues on papers, because it's easy to write, it's just going to say, okay, they just perform formalities, we called Bandile, we met with Bandile, we talk, they profile themselves, after talking they tick boxes. Because, listen, the model of the governance of South Africa is rooted in corruption. So when you rise there, you rise with corruption. So if I report, let's say, Walter Malawutsi to his friends at the Chief Master's office, what is going to happen there, those people who are on top there, that is the model they know of what these ones are doing. How are they going to make their friends account to the same things that we're doing for decades? So if this, but we can't always be talking about problems. We must also provide solutions. If these guys were to stop politicizing the future of the nation, if a person lodges a complaint, they must investigate it by going to the ground. But now it's unfortunate that the purpose of deployment is to safeguard the interest of corruption of those political elites. That's where we are. Oh. Case number 150 of 2012. There's an old lady in Polokwane who lost her son, who died in 2011. They created a wife, which they said is a customary wife. We reach out there to the master, to the chief master. And then they're going to perform the formality. You go to Walter Mulawut, he's going to give you the same response according to section, And that's the end of it. And then in the matter where they also created a fraudulent marriage certificate so that they can divert the funds of the deceased of an old lady in Sterkspruit. And there's always discrepancies in the documents. In terms of the papers from the lawyers of the so-called lawyers of the bogus wife. The wife was born in 1988. Guess when was the child born? 1987. When it comes to the case and the documents we received that are not sufficient for the old lady in Polokwane, through a prior request we filed. The mother was born in 1984. The son was born in 1987.
Amen.
So that is the life that we are living, and that's the reality that South Africans are faced with.
It's a very fertile 3-year-old, eh?
So I looked at Latata Man Umkwanazi when he was talking about issues. I think he reached a level of ukutikwa. Like some people would ask when I talk about these things, don't you fear dying? Ne? I asked them, what's happy? So for what's happy? Because the biggest warfare in this life is the spiritual warfare. We've got many spiritual enemies that we don't even know.
Yeah.
So for me, I would rather die literally than to die in my spirit. Because the manifestation of ukufa spirit it's when I suppress how I feel and what is happening to me. Because I've been attacked by people spiritually. So now I've reached a level in my life whereby I'm not going to fold my arms and stand in a corner and say, why me? I'm not a victim in this life. If you come for me, I'll come for you. And for as long as necessary, we think that because we subscribe to the how to digest politics of the stomach, and we've got life covers for our children and stuff like that. If you have the upper hand of influence and you don't fix the environment, even your kids are not going to enjoy their money, environment that you did not fix when you have the upper hand to do so. So as we have the voices to speak about these things, as much as some people have a slow catch-up plan, they only realize some of the things that we talk at a later stage. But many families in South Africa are bleeding because of that area of deceased estates. Yes. And those guys, they are comfortable because they are untouchable. If we had people who were genuine, they can come to me. I've got records dating to over 15 years. 15 years in the background. Many families are struggling because of these people. They just perform formalities, these masters. I can make another example. These guys, they stage cases. There's case 500 of 2023. Of many cases I have against the minister, the MEC of Education in the Eastern Cape. Ukati. There's many. One of them, the lawyer for the applicant I was assisting, called Bongani Kangule. The state attorney, one of the weakest attorneys I've ever come to experience in my life, was Pondo, was the Eastern Cape. Then you have a magistrate called Magistrate Vena, as well as a magistrate court. Magistrate Vena, wayefunda noBongani Kangule. Ne? State attorney is the best friend of the attorney assisting the applicant. So, this case relates to one of Inansega imali that many of our parents from all these departments are not getting paid for, which is the leave graduate. So, when this case happened, we did what they call, we applied for an exception judgment, you know? And then we applied for an application to strike out the defense of the defendant, which is the Ministry, MEC of Education, Department of Education. Because I generated the evidence and got the evidence, so they had no evidence. Guess what happened to that case? I lodged a complaint with Scopa in Parliament that is chaired by Mr. Songezo Zibi. They downscaled which is the system I'm telling you that is not working. I'll make reference to tangible things. I lodged a complaint myself as Bandile regarding this case to those guys in Parliament. After downscaling it, they only acknowledged a legislature in the Eastern Cape. That was the end of it. Because those people are their political friends. After the strikeout, what these guys did, during this case, what happened? After the exception judgment, or before the exception judgment, actually, what happened is before they applied, they said the defendant is opposing on the basis that the case number, there's multiple case numbers. One is at the Beach High Court, one is at Zwelitsha, yet they've been attending at Zwelitsha. Now, the person I was assisting must pay 8,000 bucks for that. And then I told them, listen guys, when we approached you, we gave you all the documents from the applicant's former attorneys. Because we are elevating to another stage. Because normally what I normally do, I'll use these lawyers now when they've done performing this, before they co-opt them. I cancel the mandate, take the documents, get to other lawyers, when they start to get used to these ones. But because of jurisdiction, you know, and then I don't normally use lawyers around the area because everybody knows everybody.
Yes.
That's how it is. That's how they got to stage even in this particular case now, you know. So because now we had to use lawyers in East London who are closer to Zwelitsha according to jurisdiction. And then those guys told them that no, we gave you all the documents. So we are not responsible for issues of case numbers. We are not lawyers. We didn't study law. So everything, you are the ones who did not do it right. So we can't be responsible for that. Then they quickly did that. Then I started to be suspicious there. And then after that process, fine. We applied for the exception judgment, and then it was granted. And then we applied for an application to strike out the defendant's defense. So after that, that process of the application, after that, it was in October last year, when I follow up with the lawyers to inquire about the judgment, because the magistrate Werner, said that the judgment was going to be handed down before the end of October, and he was going to send it via email. Okay, fine. So I followed up after that, which is November, December, and then around November, I reached out to the lawyers, and then they said they haven't received it. January, they haven't received it. February, then I started to approach the court manager. I think it's Zwaiba, something like that, to say, but this is the challenge. Justice delayed, justice denied, according to what they say. So what is happening regarding the judgment? Because the lawyers say they haven't received the judgment. They would say the magistrate is not there. And I'm saying I'm going to report the magistrate just to perform formalities, because even those commissions, they're friends there. You understand? So, and then they said, no, it's been sent via email. And then I asked which email address. They said to send it to root at what. Fine. And then I said the lawyer must confirm that he didn't receive the email, the judgment. They said, yes, we didn't receive it. So what I'm saying, I'm just giving you the tactics of how many lawyers are doing it. It was not my first experience with these ones. But they are not the same, you know, because the lawyer who actually groomed me in law, he was different from these guys. And then they said, no, that person is no longer the employee of the law firm, so they can't access the judgment. So they created copies to show that they sent it, and asked the lawyers to confirm if they didn't receive the strikeout judgment. They confirmed they didn't receive it. Then the following day, we were told in February now, that these guys, they say they haven't received the judgment. They said, oh, it was sent, then they sent a copy. Okay, we got the strikeout judgment. Then we had to apply, according to the order, for a default judgment. Then we did this application. Guess what happened? So what happened after we applied for the default judgment and submitting the details, Bongani Kangole started to condition me and talking about issues of the plaintiff have to go to court and what, all these different things. Then I did a story. And then what happened after that, they called and said, we must go to court because the defendant, which is they want the applicant to sign for a rescission order. You know, for a rescission for this particular
judgment.
Yet, we only apply for the judgment. We were never there when the judgment was handed down. As far as my limited knowledge is concerned, if the default judgment was handed down, I think that's the time when I'm not a legal expert, that's the time they were supposed to maybe file that. Even in that regard, they couldn't have done it after 6 months of the judgment. They didn't even appeal the judgment. But now we were meant to sign and what. But what I can tell you in short is that I wanted to paint this picture of what actually is happening in the legal space in general by making a reference to these particular cases that I've just made. So you can go ahead with your question. But,
yes,
but I needed to paint a picture for you to show you how useless the framework on its own is. Abazali bethu are being killed, you know, or sister bethu in these workplaces because now you see people are suffering now and they can't talk because confidentiality clauses are here. Ngapha, there's a code of ethics and people have to...
Gag orders.
People are sensitive. So those are things like that are happening, and what they did, they mastered this thing of divide and rule. They made private arrangements with the person who was assisting in the background, and I sensed it, and I had a dream. Okay? Normally, I was in Amandla, I had a dream about this particular person betraying me, and I told this person that I had this particular dream about you doing ABCD, and this person was like, it can't be me, blah, blah, blah. And then 3 days later, things happen exactly the way it was said. And then they will say to us, and as well, we filed someone to the office of the state attorney, and then unannounced, I just go there. When I get there, the state attorney say they receive no documentation. All those things I heard, they are recorded. Because they are lawyers and they intimidate. I'm talking about things that they have done.
I know.
And things that they do. And what I know about the perpetrators of evil, they always thrive in silence. Yeah. And just because they wear suits and they are good in the public, they do these things to the public. But now, because we have to record history and people to know, we are not going to hide, because I cannot suffer more pain than what I'm exposed to. That's why sometimes knowledge can be a curse when you know certain things, because you can't reverse the fact that I know that this exists. And we can't say all lawyers are bad. I must speak about whoever is doing this and this. And to show that these people are useless, I don't want to forget this. There's a school in Sterkspruit called St. Theresa Senior Secondary School. One of the most performing schools around Sterkspruit. I can tell you now, we've got people who are heading that department, and I'm tempted to believe that Spondo, the state attorney, is part of the case. If finances of the school had been blocked since last year, I think in May, if I'm not mistaken, those who are watching this podcast, who have the powers regarding this, they must know that kids are suffering. Personally, I don't care about the internal dynamics of what led to whatever that got the blockage to happen at St. Theresa Senior Secondary School, you know? But I care about the well-being of the children who are not eating, who have to go to other schools for them to photocopy papers. When things, if their issues could be resolved through them sitting. St. Theresa, Abaki, and I have to talk about this because St. Theresa Senior Secondary School, as part of the programs that I run, is one of the two prominent schools that have been consistent in the programs that I've been running in Sterkspruit and Lady Grey. And I want for people to know that in order for them to read proper models of leadership, especially when you are leading abafundi, not these robots who are supposed to be memorizing textbook. Because abantwana, they've got energy. The energy is confined with textbook. When they grow, they become robots as hopeless and who are victims of drugs and all these funny things. You understand? So it's St. Theresa, those who are watching, please resolve the issue at St. Theresa. And I'm not favoring St. Theresa as it is the case with many people. It is because St. Theresa, which is headed by Mr. Choto, is the most accommodative school that have accommodated the program that I'm doing without hesitation. Yes, I'm aware about internal dynamics. There are men that do not want what I go and do for kids. So I need to applaud that principle. And when you do right, they will always target you. Just like Mr. Mdolomba, Jake Mdolomba, who is heading a school called Palo Jordan in Lady Grey. Guess what? What I've come to notice, I'm not promoting politics here. All the schools that are progressive, particularly those that are headed by NAPTOSA, which is the opposite of SATU, they are always targeted in the Eastern Cape. And they are the most progressive schools according to my experience.
Ish.
And if you go to those schools, those who are headed by SATU, they will never accommodate any program because these fools who are heading these spaces, they are politicizing the future of these kids, killing the future of our communities.
Sure, but Bandile, thank you for your time. Before you get me lawsuits, I distance myself from anything that could be potentially. But thank you so much for your time. But we'll keep talking because obviously you guys never just come once when there's other topics. But thank you very much for unpacking the flag with us and the judiciary. It was a privilege.
All right, no, thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to speak. There's more that I want to speak, and I'm happy that we have alternative media where we can express these things, it's just that my mind is all over the place. I might not have actually articulated the story comprehensively because there's so many things running in my mind because the purpose is to try and fix the environment with the little influence that we have. And we need to use our voices to ensure that we correct this history pertaining to everything that's happening in terms of the flag as well. And the flag, whether they like it or not, we need to correct the flag. This is a call to all artists and all content creators that I'm happy that you are part of the story because people don't want to be part of the story. They only want to harness what's already moving. So I urge all content producers, particularly those who are not comrade, to take this story and investigate it because what is recorded in history is a lie. And it needs to be corrected. And Mackenzie is forcing us to go to court, which is a last resort. Mackenzie must come and sit down. If they've got nothing to hide, why do they reject interviews to speak about the flag? And I would love these commissions as Ninza to do a commission around the flag and bring those white people who are beneficiaries of this fraud and these artists, these black politicians who are benefiting from this. And every person who contributes to the cause, I thank them. I know you speak strongly against the EFF, but the people
no, I don't.
I'm trying to get it wrong.
Yeah.
So it is the people of the EFF who have actually supported this cause in the background. Thanks to Mr. Eugene Tetwa, thanks to Ringo Madlingozi. But I believe that, gentlemen, you can do far better in terms of this. And I can give context. I understand when I speak on these interviews, they say I'm the spokesperson. I'm actually the person who researched and instigated this whole issue around the flag. So if you've got questions about the flag, you can ask me. I'm still alive. Mr. Mkai is still alive.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. So the SA flag, is it fraud? Yeah. Thank you for joining us today. And please, guys, I do not have anything against the EFF. I don't like this narrative. It's just that I know how to stand up against your cult leader, but I've got nothing against the fighters. See you again next time.
Who are you when all you were has been diluted by lies and white lines cancelling out all that which has been written of your history? Why do you look at yourself as a mystery? Doesn't the sun shine because you open your eyes? Doesn't the moon stay situated within the same stars your DNA sparkles off?
Your spirit knows that surely khona into e off. Buza umoya so you may return to being well off. Because spiritually you are rich, yet your ancestors cry because you are out of reach. But yours is to command all elements while God takes inspiration from the very mirror she looked at to become. Remember who you are and never finish just when they think that with you they are done.